Two Emmas in the room.
Emmageddon.
Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
This topic that we're going to talk about is something that I feel like a lot of people are going to relate to, just because it's when it comes to kind of like living your best life, living your dreams and your goals, I feel like it's something that everyone at some point ends up experiencing or going through.
Right.
So I'm really excited to do that. So let's do a little timeline first of all of your time, because obviously you're originally from Scotland. Everyone, probably Scottish people around the world, are throwing their phones out the window at me trying to do that.
You try.
I try. And now you're in Bangkok.
Yep.
So you moved here in 2010. So you've been here a while.
15 years.
Yeah.
It was only meant to be one, but yeah.
It was only meant to be one.
Yeah.
Did you come here with the idea of coming here for work, or was it kind of just like a travel break?
It was a travel break. So I kind of like saved up enough money that I thought I could do 6 months traveling and 6 months teaching English. You know, like did the old TEFL course and thought like that would be fun.
Right.
And originally I thought to move, starting in Bangkok, because I had a friend who lived here, my friend's sister. And then I kind of was more attracted to Vietnam originally. But when I came to Bangkok, I just loved it. So I did my little flash packer. And then I came back to Bangkok and thought like, right, and I tried TEFL, but it's definitely like not for me. So
right.
I kind of, once I'd kind of connected the dots and I thought like, this is more than 6 months, like I have to stay here, I started to look for a more longer term job, something that was more me. So
yeah, right.
Yeah.
And you found work because looking at like a year later, you started at the Creative Partnership Thailand.
Yeah.
So you had no idea of getting into that work when you first came here. Did you go looking for work then while you were already here?
Yeah, so I started looking for work, and I suppose I was quite lucky in a way that I met people who were in different industries. So, because I think a lot of the times there's so many teachers here, you know, and that environment is very welcoming, it's very fun. So, but I was fortunate that I kind of met other people that were doing different things. So sort of introduced me to a different professional environment. And that's kind of, and also like networking events, they were so big back then. Like I think they are still now, but they were really, really important back then. And you met great people there. So I put a lot of effort into going to them, meeting different people.
So would you say that for anyone who was considering moving to Thailand, looking for work, has an idea of what industry to be in, but doesn't really have any connections or anything, that networking events could be a good tool, a good sort of way to get in? Definitely.
Like Bangkok is, I mean, it's really changed now a lot. I think like the job market is much harder, and it's competitive. A lot of people want to be here, but does really depend on your network. You know, you do need to meet people. Like I think cold applying on LinkedIn or JobsDB or whatever is probably not going to get you anywhere. I would say. So yeah, networking is really important in establishing, you know, your presence here and what you can do.
Okay, awesome. So if you're someone who's considering coming here, maybe try out the networking events to see if you can get the jobs. Find those events by having a little search on Facebook, local groups, maybe Eventbrite, this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Nice. So then you were there for a couple of years, and then you went to, I'm probably going to say this wrong, Amadeus. Right, that sounds much more lovely. So you were there, and you were there for a few years.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, marketing is your thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with the Creative Partnership, I was more like it was such a small company, so you were a bit of everything. Like I guess my title was something like, I don't know, account manager, project manager or something. And that was mostly handling like advertising and design projects, copywriting projects for mostly hotels, hospitality companies. And then, I really I'm passionate about that, the marketing aspect more than the account management. So yeah, I decided to kind of hone in on, and Amadeus was such a great, massive company here. So that was I feel like that was like a really pivotal moment for me, where it was like going from quite a small, locally owned company, like, which I'm forever grateful, like that was even though they're small, they were working with all the biggest brands, Mandarin Oriental, Four Seasons, all of that. So it was such a great start. But moving into Amadeus, being like a massive company, global, that was really like a pivotal moment where I thought like my career is moving in the right direction here.
So you were there for a few years, so it was obviously going quite well while you were
I really
there.
Liked it there.
And the reason why you left is because you were made redundant.
Yeah, like that was a big sort of structural change shift in that company, and they were moving the headquarters to Singapore at the time. And Singapore didn't make sense for me. I think personally, like I'd been there many times for work, and I didn't see my life there.
And so what did you do then when it came back to having to find work again? And from going from, this small company to now this large company, and I guess leveling up a little bit, how did you then go about finding work now that you'd had this progression? Did anything change?
So I took a bit of time off, and I had a huge network here. So I did do a little bit of like freelancing, like a little bit of branding projects and copywriting, and that sort of ticked me over. It got to a point where I was actually so busy with the freelance stuff that I thought like, should I look into opening like a small company here, like a one-person company, and go for it? But there was something like, I just knew I wasn't ready for that.
What do you mean by you weren't ready for that? Like, what was going on that was making you think or feel that you weren't ready for it?
I think I knew in myself, like, that I hadn't learned everything that I needed to. I wasn't sort of mature enough. Like, I didn't quite have that, like, I don't know if it's like the motivation or just the daily habits to be able to like really push myself to that next level yet. And like, and I do actually remember, like, this will be like, it's a bit woo-woo, but I remember going to like a tarot card reader.
Oh, right. Yes.
And, like, take what you will from that kind of thing. Yeah. Like, I always, I like it, but I'm not like 100% ingrained in it. But I went and I asked what was one of the questions, because I think like whenever you're going through like a big transition period like that, you're looking for help, and people look for that in different areas, right? You talk to your friends, or, you go out and get pissed every night. Did that too. But yeah, I went to the tarot reader and I asked her, am I going to have my own business? And she said, yes, but not right now.
Right.
And it really stuck with me because it's like, it's not that I think that she saw the future or anything like that, but in that moment, she validated what I thought was true. Like, I knew that working for myself and having my own business was a goal, is something that I wanted to do. But I also knew that like right now wasn't the time. I feel like maybe I felt too young in myself, or just not ready yet. I knew there was more stuff that I had to like learn and get under my belt before I was ready for that. So yeah, I feel like the tarot card helped me in that moment.
She kind of just validated everything that you were feeling anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
And it could have been like a friend that had said that to me, but it happened to be this tarot card lady. So
yeah, well, like you said, whatever works, right?
Exactly.
So you went into another job in, what was it, like around 2017?
So I went to Property Guru.
Right.
Well, actually at the time it was Asia Property Awards, and they'd just been bought by Property Guru. So I went into that team, and that job actually, like, going back, because I said like dry applying on LinkedIn's not going to get you anywhere, but actually I did get that job from a dry apply on LinkedIn.
Okay, so dry apply on LinkedIn could work.
Yeah, you never know. So don't count it out. And
then COVID hit. So what happened then during COVID?
Yeah, well, yeah, because so I went to Boutique Corporation, and a sort of mid-sized company, and then I was only there like two or 3 months, and COVID hit. So
2 or 3 months. That's right.
And that was there I went and took like a director of marketing job. So I was very much following, I was super motivated, like, and I'd gone from marketing specialist to marketing manager, head of marketing, director of marketing. So I had a path for myself. And yeah, that was a bummer. But I feel like in a way, like, I think everybody had loads of epiphanies, good and bad, through COVID, right? But it definitely like changed the trajectory of my career and how I thought about it and what my goals were, you know. So I guess it was a enforced slowdown, because I think at that point I was so used to, like, I worked constantly. It was a huge part of my life, maybe like a defining part of even like my personality at that point.
Yeah, love that. So now you're on the island, Koh Chang, which is beautiful. And it was here during COVID, which I love, because I think COVID was wild. It was a wild time for many people. And everyone has a different experience. For some people, it was an incredibly negative time because, you know, job losses, relationship breakdowns, like, all kinds of things happen. But for some people, it was a really positive experience because it was life-changing. There was a moment for a lot of people that things slowed down and made people stop and reflect their life. And in this time on Koh Chang is where you had your idea for skin clinic. Right. So tell me about that. First of all, tell me about the moment that this idea came up. Like, were you just kind of sat on the beach, or you were in a restaurant? Like, how was this idea born?
Would love to say that like this idea came because we were sitting with Excel spreadsheets and stuff like that, but reality was we were drunk. We would get really wine drunk, like. We were ordering like wine by the case to arrive to the island. Like, yeah.
You were literally getting wine shipped over to the island.
Yes.
Love that.
But it was something, you know, like, I feel, like it brings out your creative juices sometimes. And so I was there with my friend Jazzy, and whenever we would talk about so many ideas, move to the island, like, her partner at the time was a Muay Thai instructor. Let's open a gym. Let's open a cafe. You know, let's do this. Let's do that. And then the one thing that we always kept coming back to was like beauty and clinics.
So you kept coming back to the idea of the clinic, and would you say it's really because you kept coming back to this idea that you were like, this is the one that we've got to go for, out of all of the ideas, because you just kept coming back to that?
I think it was like the reason we sort of went with that is because we both have a genuine passion and interest in that industry.
Right.
And already existing strong knowledge base.
Right.
And I do really believe in like playing to your strengths. You know, like, I wouldn't go and try and be a personal trainer because I just don't have that knowledge base, and I hate going to the gym. Sorry. It just wouldn't make sense for me. Like, why would I do that? Like, because then you're going to have to learn how to build a business and all the knowledge of like what you're trying to build. So it doesn't make sense. But this one, I felt like it did. And also I believed really strongly that there was a big gap in the market. Like, it felt like nobody's doing that. You know, like, we did a lot of research, both of us. And I thought, like, even the people who are doing it okay, like some English, like it's still not there.
So you spent some time going around trying to find places.
Yeah.
And when did you find that place?
So yeah, we spent a few months, like, we had a sort of line group chat and building on the idea and what we were looking for, and we saw quite a few places in different locations, and then we had various different real estate agents looking for us, but nobody had really found anything. So, but it was, I think, around September 2022, we went and saw a space on Sukhumvit 22, and it used to be a nail salon, and it was kind of ratchet inside because it'd gone out of business during.
It was what inside?
Ratchet.
What does that mean for people who don't know?
Like, minging?
Minging? Not nice.
Not nice. Yeah, and it was just like, it had been sitting for months, you know, and and even like the way it was decorated, it had this platform because it used to have like the sinks and the nail beds. So it was like quite difficult to picture it, like how we could do it.
Right.
But when, I don't know, like when we saw it, so yeah, we went there and saw it, and I thought like M-Sphere was being built at the time. And I just
And M-Sphere is the big shopping mall.
The big
here.
Shopping mall, right?
Yeah.
So it was like huge. It's Sukhumvit Road, but also it was going to have an entrance on Sukhumvit 22.
Mm-hmm.
So Sukhumvit 22 is like a funny soy. Like there's a lot of like
street. Soy means street.
Oh yeah, sorry, street.
For those who don't live in Thailand.
Right. So there's a lot of like girly bars at the beginning of the street, which are fun. You know, it's not. I don't feel like it's like the really seediest part of Bangkok, but it's colourful.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of thought like with the big mall opening and they're going to have a big entrance there, it's definitely going to elevate this place. You know, and it's good and bad. You know, a lot of the street vendors who were there when we first opened, and I loved going to them, you know, get a smoothie and a pad thai or whatever. They had to move, you know, which is the sad reality of an ever-evolving Bangkok. But so yeah, but I knew the mall opening would be really elevate that location, because it was also going to have like from the SkyTrain Prompong, it was going to have the walkway into the mall, and then you could walk all the way through the mall and straight to us. We're directly opposite. So yeah, I could see the vision. The space was also small enough because I feel like a lot of the other ones that we went to see, they were massive. And it was like, I think a big part of like starting a business, especially your first one, is like know your limitations. And I kind of thought like taking on like a 3-story building, like a huge monthly rental, managing that space, you know, maintaining it, you know, making it a welcoming environment as well. Like it's a lot, you know, and we didn't have huge startup capital, and we knew we wanted to be sensible with it. So this space felt like perfect in that sense. It was small, manageable. It was a great location. The rental fee was within the budget that we'd imagined, and it didn't look anything like what it does now. But we thought like, I don't think it's going to take too much to get it there. You know, I had a little bit of vision about what I wanted. So yeah, like when we saw that in September, I just thought like, if we don't take it, you know, somebody's going to swoop in and take it. So we weren't, I don't feel like I would say like we were ready, we were there yet. We totally weren't, like, but we just knew like this is our space. It just felt like I knew it.
You just knew it. You had that gut instinct.
Yeah.
So then that is when you confirmed it. You confirmed the place.
Yeah.
You had your business idea. You knew you were going with that. You found your space. You confirmed the space. It's all going ahead. You start signing the paperwork for the rental of the space, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, what is going through your head at that point? Because now the idea is not just an idea. It's happening. Real. Like, shit got real kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
What was that like for you?
It's definitely like panicky, because it was like, it's a lot of money, you know, if it does. And there was definitely like sleepless nights of thinking like, what if this all goes tits up? But I think I knew we were going to be able to make it work. I think I had a confidence that even if it didn't, you know, it's not going to retire us, but I thought we'll be able to make it work. Like, there's no way we can't. Like, we both have really good skills, you know. So, yeah, I think maybe a little bit of like blind confidence.
And with your kind of like sleepless nights, did this and sort of like doubt, did this stop after a bit, or did this continue?
Oh my God, it like got worse when we opened.
It got worse when you opened, right? So yeah, let's go to that. So you now you're in the process of, you know, moving things in, getting the place done up, ready for the opening. So what was that like when you actually opened?
I mean, that was so stressful, and I was still working, so I didn't have day-to-day operational role. That was all Jazzy, you know, so she was great. She left her job to fully manage everything. So
Right.
I was really lucky in that sense to have...
Because you were still in your other job.
I was still in a role.
Right.
So she was really the day-to-day, but obviously like looking at our booking situation, you open brand new, nobody knows you, you know, and in an industry where it's very much built on reputation, like nobody's letting you come near their face with a needle for the first time, you know, like, it's like there's no reviews, there's no social media, it's just all stock images, you know. It's like, oh my God,
that's
like
so tough.
It was super rough.
So how did you build that up?
I mean, obviously, like in the early stages of my planning, like me being involved was going to be a big factor of a trust and being able to speak and outreach to the expat community. So I did a bit of that in the expat groups on Facebook.
You mean you were posting and just sharing the shop?
Just sharing that we've opened and, you know, like our opening offers and things like that. And honestly, like those groups were amazing. We got a lot of women who came through them. So that was so helpful, you know. And I think like in Bangkok, or probably in most expat communities, and I think particularly in the female ones in Bangkok, it's really supportive, you know, and they'll come through for each other, which is so nice because we're all a long way from home. And we don't have that, you know, the same support system that we do in your home, in your own backyard. So it's really nice to see that kind of like support for each other.
Just quickly in on that one, do you think it's almost in some ways easier to gain support from scratch being in an expat community than if you were to say, let's say you were doing this back in Scotland? Do you feel like the expat community, like the support of that helped at all, or would it be the same?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say because I've not done it at home, but I do think that there is that like really strong sense of community in Thailand that you don't see. And I think even like when you go home, or when I speak to friends who've transitioned from living here to going back home, people are very set in their friends groups that they've had since they were teenagers, you know, and they're not really open to making new friends, where expat mindset is quite different. You know, you are like, you're constantly looking for new friends almost because people move away all the time. And, you know, so I think it is a different mindset, and you will find a really strong support network.
Right. Yeah. So that's where you're gaining a lot of the sort of traction, let's say, in the initial months, was through the community and reaching out and putting your skills to use as a marketing specialist, right? Yeah,
and friends, you know, like definitely, like there was a few friends, you were one, who trusted us in the beginning and came and, you know, and let me like film and use your faces on the social media, which really helps, you know. So I have a few friends I'm like forever grateful to for that initial trust. And then I think it takes off from there, that sort of word of mouth. But that wasn't easy, you know, that you can say it like that, like, oh yes, it's about word of mouth and building it up, but it was an uphill battle, you know. The first sort of, I'd say like 8 months was like every day of looking at the schedule and thinking like, oh my God, how are we going to pay everyone? You know, and having that fear that you're going to have to just front load it with money for longer than you hoped, you know.
So how did you get through that? Like when you were looking and crunching numbers, let's say, and they weren't looking so positive, how did you stay positive yourself to keep it going and, you know, not think, oh, this isn't working, we've got to pull out? Like, what kept you going forward with it?
Yeah, like I don't think I ever, I don't remember a time where I thought like, this isn't working, like, which is, I don't know, maybe again coming back to that blind confidence. Like I kind of like knew we would crack it, but it was just because I knew like psychologically how marketing works, you know, and it takes time to seed it and build a reputation. So I knew that part was really important, and there was no shortcuts to that. So I think I sort of in a way trusted that process and knew like, we'll get there. And, you know, we might have to sacrifice a bit, you know, we don't take salaries, or, you know, and have to punch a bit more money into it, but we'll get there, you know, and just have to keep pushing forward. But it's disheartening, you know, like, because sometimes, you know, when you walk into a restaurant and there's nobody in there and you're like, oh God, this is so cringe. Like walking into your own business, thinking that it's like so rough, you know, it's like how you take it a bit personal, but it's like, you know, it's definitely like the learning curve, and there's no shortcut, you know. You're not, I don't think anybody, unless you're opening a branch of a well-established brand already or something, you know, I don't think you're ever going to start something brand new and have a line around the block right away. You know, I think it's just the harsh reality that you're going to have to go through those quiet days.
So it's understanding that you got to have the patience with it. It's going to be a step-by-step process, not an overnight boom.
Yeah.
And what I love that you said is trust the process.
Right.
Which kind of huge, right? It should be on everyone's forehead. Because sometimes you do really just have to sacrifice everything that's going up in here.
Yeah.
And just trust the process.
Yeah. I think that's like, for, especially like in today's like social media, we're all like obsessed with social media. We see it all the time. We share our own stories on there. And like, I think definitely in terms of like success, I see that as like a really good and bad thing, because it's so empowering to see other people's success and to motivate you and think like, oh, I want that. But it's also like can be really disheartening, because it can be like you're comparing yourself to that and you're thinking, but I've not got that success yet, and like holy shit, like why am I not there? But like I think it's so important to remember, like, people are only sharing the best things, right? Nobody's sharing that day-to-day struggle, you know, and the success, it's never overnight how it looks on somebody's recap social media post about like how they built their business, you know, in a sort of 60-second time-lapse style video or something. All the bits in between that are really hard, and like that's the real stuff, but we don't often talk about it because it's kind of boring. Like you're not going to share that on social media. But yeah, I do feel like if you let it, social media can be a bit of a thief of joy.
And you just got to stay savvy, because social media can be fantastic, as you said. But you have to be savvy with it. You have to understand that it is a shop window. The best products are on display, and all of the nitty gritty is in the back storeroom.
Exactly.
Yeah. So so you carried on, like you trust the process, you plod on through. And it's safe to say that you're doing pretty damn well, because now you're looking at opening up a second clinic.
Yeah. So, I mean, so like Jazzy worked there full time for like over a year and a half, I think. So she did an amazing job of the whole management of it. And then I just in January left my full-time job. So yeah, you can say like that confidence to do that was definitely an indication of like how well we're doing, you know, like.
Right, yeah, because and on that, this is also kind of a pivotal moment, because you start up a business, you have your idea while you're in the security of a 9-to-5 job, a salary coming in of some sorts anyway. Knowing that you have that financial income and safety, and then to step away from that to go into your own thing is kind of like a big, huge step in itself that I think a lot of people would fear as well. So what was it for you that made you say, no, it's okay? Like, now I can step away from the job. Now I'm going to go and do it. What was it for you? And how did you feel doing that?
That was really like challenging for me. It was not like a easy decision that I was just like, oh, I'm done. Like, you know, and to be honest, like I'd been thinking about it for a long time, because I go back to, I knew I always wanted to work by myself, and you know, the clinic, of course, I was like the the sort of, it was passive for me. Like I had a full-time job and I was focused on that, and the clinic was extracurricular, but I knew like that wasn't sustainable. You know, I hated having that split focus. And so I think like coming to leaving my job was really scary, because even though the clinic's doing well, it's like, it's not, you know, it wasn't in my mind. I guess I thought we're all taught to think that stability and security is in a full-time job. And in reality, it's not really, because you could be fired at any moment, you know, so it's not really the stability that you think it is. But I think for me, like, there was a huge fear, and I had to like delve into why I was so scared of it. And I went back to like, it was, you know, I didn't grow up with like a safety net. We didn't have much, like, and I've become over the years like my own safety net. Like, I'm a fiercely independent person, and I am, you know, like financially independent, and I don't rely on anybody. So, but then thinking like, oh, I only rely on myself, and if you take your own salary away, like, it's really scary. So I think like it was linked to security. And I think the sort of the main pushing factor was like the fear of losing the income was outweighed by the fear of staying in a job that I didn't really like and being stuck, being beholden to it, and becoming a bit resentful because I'm never brave enough to make that move. That outweighed everything else. And I thought like, it's, you know, it's now or never. Like, you have to do it.
And so then you did it. You stepped out. You went in, and now you're fully full-time business owner.
Indeed.
Of the skin clinic, and looking at going to opening a new a secondary clinic somewhere, which is awesome. How, you know, what is your vision to keep going forward now? And do you still have any doubts about this whole process? Are there any days where you're like, fuck, what have I done? Or are you just, no, we're good?
I think like now that we've gone back to, I feel like looking for the second location, it's giving me like a throwback to when we were first looking for this one, because it's like, it's the same steps, right? The same process. And then, yeah, like there's definitely moments where I think like, oh, should we just focus on what we've got? Like, or, you know, is it like crazy to open a second branch? But I think like it's not who we are. Like, we always knew we wanted this to be bigger, you know, like we could probably stay in our comfort zone and just focus on the Bangkok clinic, and, you know, and make sure that we can get comfortable living from it. But it's not who we are. It's not what we want to do. So we need to push ourselves, you know, and keep going. And I think like for me as well, sorry, I've been so comfortable in Bangkok for so long, and I really love it here. You know, I don't have much reason to move anywhere, but I think I do need to push myself and go and try something else, you know, for my own progression. You know, exactly that feeling I had when I was 25 of like, this is not it. You know, this is not where I stay. So I think I have that feeling, and I need like I think it's definitely like the next natural progression. Like, I do want to build something bigger. So yeah, but it's scary. You know, we are going to have to start again in a whole new location. And even though we can build on the Bangkok reputation, we're looking at Phuket possibly. So it's a whole other market. It's different people down there. Most of them will never have heard of us in Bangkok. So it is starting from scratch again. Although we have a better foundation, because we learned lots from, you know, the first mistakes that we won't make again.
Right, yeah. And each time you go through something like this, this entire process of trying and seeing, it's always a learning curve.
Exactly.
And so even if it had failed, it would have still been great, because you learn from it, and then you apply your learnings to the next time you want to give it a shot.
Yeah.
Or if it goes great, you learn from it, you apply, and what can you do the next time, right?
Yeah.
So each time it's a learning curve.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like nothing's going to go well every time. You know, if it does, it's pretty unrealistic. There's definitely going to be things that are going to be a bad idea, and you'll be like, in hindsight, like, oh shit, we shouldn't have done that. But you know, you learn from it, and it is the only way, is to learn by doing. You know, and I think especially in being a business owner, there isn't really a manual for it. You know, you've just got to throw yourself into it. But I think definitely like going back to sort of like being a business owner, and there isn't a manual, but you like everything that I definitely like built myself and took all the opportunities and learning skills and learned from other people, like mentors and things, to like ready me for that situation so that I could be like the best that I could be in that moment.
Love that. And so just to anyone who's watching, who's in a similar position, they're in a 9-to-5, they're having these ideas, they know in their heart that they want to open up a business, be an entrepreneur, they want to go down that life, they don't want to work for someone else, but they're toying with the idea. Just based on your own personal experience, what is your advice to someone who is in that position right now, who's a little bit like, I want to do it, but they're feeling a bit held back, maybe by fear or something? What would be your realistic advice to someone in that position?
I think like for me, it was definitely like to just start doing it, like doing the things that are within your reach. So obviously like you're in your 9-to-5, but you have your evenings and weekends. So start building the plan around there, you know, and when you take the small steps like that, it leads you into the right direction, you know, because I think like ultimately like the courage to leave your job isn't the courage isn't that taking that leap. It's in the small things that you do every day that sort of frighten you a little bit, you know. And even if you think it's silly to like make your business plan on a Google Sheets and stuff like that, but you need to do it, because I think once you bring those ideas out of your mind and onto paper, it makes it more real. Because I think for most of us, a lot of us, we have loads of ideas. Everybody has ideas, but it's nothing without execution. So if you don't take the steps to start executing it, then it'll never come out of your mind, you know. You'll always just sit and daydream about it, you know. And I think like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome. Right. You know, so if you just go to work every day and think, I fucking hate this, I need to be my own boss, but you do nothing about it, that's crazy. Like, you need to take small steps, even if you feel like you have no idea what you're doing, but just start taking the steps.
Just start.
Yeah. Exactly. Just start.
Love that. Oh, Emma, thank you so much. So many golden nuggets in there. Really, really awesome. So yeah, thank you very much. And
thank you.
Good luck with opening up the second clinic. I can't wait.
Hopefully soon. Island life is calling.
Yes.